Good evening from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. It's 8:12 p.m. Excuse me. on Friday evening, Shabbat Shalom, of the 26th of June 2026. And I've finally decided to sit down, take a break, because I've been working all day. My hands are really sore at carding the remnant alpaca bits and pieces I had left over from spinning that weren't probably carded properly in the first place, or whatever went wrong. So they're all the scrappy bits, but I've got half a pillowcase full of rolags, which is the name that you call for the rolled up, brushed out, which is called carded fleece. So I got a whole bag of that to spin up, and I rang my friend Robin today, and she mentioned that she had preserved a jar of some of her little dog Coco's fur. So I said to her, well, next time you come and visit me, bring the fur over and I'll show you how to card it and brush it. But she doesn't have to, I can do that for her, but I just wanted her to feel like part of it, that she's contributed to making the wool. But she doesn't have to. But I said, bring it over, and I've fallen in love with spinning wool. It's a bit obsessional, people of it, because I actually thought I'd run out of all the fleece, but then I found a few more bags. So one bag full is only good for stuffing pillows or cushions or toys with. So I think I'll use that to stuff Oberon fairy when I knit them up, and use up what I've got here. And at least being real wool, it's organic, whereas the polyester stuff you buy, I don't think it's all that good for the environment, quite frankly. Even the birds kicked it out of the nest when I found some, and the birds had woven into a nest and then kicked it out, probably because it doesn't maintain any kind of temperature, because it's... What is polyester made from anyway? I think it's a kind of a plastic, really. Or some fibre made out of plastic. I'm not even sure, to be honest. I might not be making much sense. I might not be accurate. But, I've got a shopping bag full of scrappy bits that I will use for stuffing, I've decided, people of Earth. So my hands are very sore because I bought these brushes, actually. I had to pay them off, but anyway, it doesn't matter. The Mama T, how she wrangles things financially is a bit miraculous. But I bought these special brushes for carding because I had, the last time I used slicker brushes for, brushing dog's fur, which worked, but I just thought I want the professional brushes that do the job, and I'm very happy with them. They're Ashford, New Zealand brand. I'm very happy with them. So, but they're bigger than the little dog slicker brushes, so they're a bit harder on my hands. But one day when I'm feeling really rich, because they're nearly $1,000, people of Earth, which is a lot of money to spend on spinning and tools and equipment. But one day when I'm feeling flush, I know I have to roll my eyes at that one too. I'm going to buy a carding machine that, you can wind and it does it all for you. Wouldn't that be cool? I've looked at them, new, even second-hand. They want a fair bit of money for them, quite frankly. So I've looked at them and I'm thinking, well, that's a long-term dream, like, along with... Oh, my damn light's blinking off again in a sec. Really should get that dealt with. Can you get an electrician to make me a new cord or connection for it? Anywho, what was I saying? Oh yeah, along with the long-term plan for the, buffing, polishing machine, and the rolling mill, and lapidary cutting slab. What was the other thing I wanted? A lapidary faceter. All these, grand schemes, but they can wait, it took me this long to get my shit together and start really getting into silversmithing and spinning. So, you know, it'll take a while before I can afford all the proper equipment, but it doesn't matter because I'm making do with the hand tools and what I've got. Attitude is everything, people of Earth. So I've been working on that, spinning of that, all that fleece. I even found a bag that Danny Sloan had given to me that she'd already brushed beautifully. She did a beautiful job of it, but she hadn't rolled them into the rollags, which, you know, are useful when you're spinning to pull the thread out from, the wool out from. So I brushed them again because they've been lying around in a bag for quite some years. When did she give them to me? Probably 3 or 4 years ago. And so I brushed them all again and I rolled them into rollags. So I've got 2 lots of alpaca. The one she made, it says white, but it's more of a cream colour compared to the one that I've got. She would have given me that too. But anyway, they're different colours, slightly different shades of white. So anyway, if she watches my videos, which I doubt, but if she does, she'll be happy to see that finally, after 3 or 4 years, I've got round to it. I've utilised all the lovely fleeces that she gave me, and, you know, some I brushed myself, carded myself. But that particular little bag full, I just found it today. I thought I'd spun all the wool that I was given. I feel like Rumpelstiltskin waiting to turn straw into gold. But anyway, never mind. But I was happy to find that little extra bag of really beautiful alpaca fleece. So there's enough there. I messaged Robin, said there's enough there that we could make some wool from little Coco's fur. I think there'll be enough there to do it with. So, and there's 2 more bags of like small bits that I think will only be good for stuffing as well, or felting maybe. So it's been a busy, productive day. And I took time out to go down and get a few groceries as well, so that was okay. And yeah, that's been my day. It's been my day. Busy, busy, busy. Working with my hands. Oh, the other thing I did, still drying, was I painted this box and did the back. Oh, the back could do with another coat, I think. Could it? Or can we get away with it? Maybe might need another coat. I did the inside and I did the sides. And it's a wonderful little box that I had a chuckle about. I mentioned it, I wrote about it on my Instagram, because about 2 or 3 years ago, my friend Kylie, who's my hairdresser actually, we're friends because I've been going to her for 15 years. I've worn her down. I'm joking. But anyway, she's my friend and my hairdresser. And she said to me at the time, a few years back, so it might even be longer than that, 4 years, 5, during the COVID nightmare trauma era, the worst of it, the throes of it, my hair was very brittle and breaking off all the time. She said, you've got this tide line around the back of your head. And she said, I can see where it's all breaking. So she suggested that I buy these pillowcases, which I did do in silk. And I haven't actually used them. I used them about the first week or 2. And yes, I often do. It, you know, gets put aside and left and forgotten. But anyway, they came in this beautiful box. It's got even little magnets on it, so when it closes, it magnetically closes. It's really beautifully made. And of course, it's been lying around for years, so it was starting to get a bit manky looking. And I thought, I'm going to paint that up and decoupage it. This is what I do with my time, people, because I have time. I'm very time wealthy. is I do quirky things. Like I made this box years ago too, and but I didn't, foolishly I just varnished it, and I should have covered it in resin. But anyway, only recently, when I was zhuzhing up something else, I put these little extra duvelakis on it, which actually made it look even more interesting, because without it was a bit bland, and the mama tea doesn't do bland. So anyway, and I keep all my little pictures in this one. So I've got an obsession with collecting boxes, in particular really ornate, beautiful timber boxes, you know, with mother of pearl inlay or all sorts of quirky things. The other thing I bought one time, looking at it now, I got it cheap somewhere, I think in a second-hand shop, was this leather photo frame, and I put this card from, it says Gascony, which is, where is that? I think it's the Basque. Anyway, my mother had a collection of cards from when we were in Europe, so I recycled that and made that into that nice little frame. So I do these quirky things, and old shoe boxes I sometimes zhuzh up as well, because I store everything, all my art supplies, all my decoupage supplies in them. And waste not, want not, you know, you're recycling a box that would have got thrown in the fire or chucked out. So, and it's quite nice. It's a nice little hobby I have. But anyway, I really love, it was called Pearl Purple. I really love the colour. It's really knock 'em dead colour. Sort of the colour of my corset. One of my corsets is that colour. So anyway, I'm going to decoupage that as well, put a few interesting little pictures or glittery things on it too. Why not? Let's go, you know, let's make an extravaganza of it. But it already looks so lovely just with that shade of purple. It's almost a shame to glue pictures on it and hide the colour. So I'll think about it. Maybe I'll leave it just plain. Oh, but it's screaming to be high camp, you know. I'm not gay, but you know what I mean. Like, just that, you know, showgirl entering the stage. Let's just have it OTT. Right, anyway, I'm actually not gay, although people often think I am, because according to my psychiatrist, I have a lot of masculine energy, but that's from being in a self-protective mode ever since I was a young child, so it gets confused. So sometimes people think, ooh, and it's like, sorry, can't help you ladies with that. Awkward. I mean, you have to laugh, you know, and then sometimes men are attracted to me, which is odd, because if I have masculine energy, what are they doing being attracted to a woman with masculine energy? But I guess we should just be grateful that I am attractive at all to some people, because otherwise it would be a bit of a downer, wouldn't it? Right. I feel like I should go out tonight wearing my new Pegasus earrings to match my bracelet and my necklace. And I'm yet to make the Pegasus little matching ring to wear with it, so I'd have the complete set. But yes, when I went to Aldi, a very strange thing. People are not right in the head anymore post-COVID. A lot of people, it's very confronting. Sometimes I look at it and think, why are you behaving like that? What's going on, you know? But I don't comment, because, like, I used to be the one that wasn't right in my head on all the hefty psych meds years ago, so I don't judge and I don't comment, and I realise that a lot of people are very badly affected mentally and physically by adverse reactions. So out in public, they can do some quite extraordinarily odd things that are a bit out of left field, almost like things that dementia patients might do, for example. It's bloody frightening, actually. So anyway, I'll tell you the story. I'm standing in the queue at Aldi, and I had all my groceries laid out on I can never remember the name for it. The thing that automatically slides your food along. What's it called? It'll come to me. Anyway, it's black, and you put your food on it and it rolls along to the counter. And of course you put these long rectangular cube-shaped sticks to say that that's your personal space, right? Everyone does it. You have your groceries and you put one there so the next person knows where to put their groceries. And it's also kind of polite to let people know, well, I think it is, where the demarcation of territory on the grocery tarmac. No, that's not the word. Anyway, Travelator, I'm getting closer. You're probably all screaming the name for me and I can't think of it for the love or money right now. But anyway, I wasn't even conscious of what was going on because I had gone to the front of the counter where you load your groceries back into your trolley and where you pay. So I chastised the young man working there actually because he was throwing the food at me so fast, and I said, geez, you Speedy Gonzales, arriba, andale, and he didn't get the joke because that generation, the young ones don't know who the hell Speedy Gonzales is, but everyone else who grew up in the 60s and 70s, it was a cartoon mouse that was always in a hurry. It was always speeding, not speeding off his dial on acid or amphetamines, or maybe that was the dark side of that cartoon character, because there's always a dark side with Disney, trust me on that one. But I never thought of that before, but he was always in a hurry. So I said to the young man, a nice looking pleasant young man, I said, listen here, Speedy Gonzales. I said, you're too fast for me. I'm trying to load the trolley and I can't keep up with you. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, but I guess you want to go for lunch. But it was like after 1 o'clock in the afternoon. He goes, no, I've had lunch, but I'm looking forward to my next break. And he's like, what's Speedy? And I went, Speedy Gonzales. It's you. It's what. He didn't get it. Anyway, I'm thinking, I can't work with these people. It's a generational thing. So don't get mad, Tanya, I said to myself, because they've got no clue what I'm talking about. And I don't know some of their references that they talk about because they're young and, the sports stars. I have no clue because I have no interest in sports and never have, even when I was a younger woman. So there's things that I don't know when people are referencing. I just kind of look at them and check out too. Anyway, so I'm loading up the trolley, trying to keep pace with the young man. And finally, in frustration, I wasn't angry with him. I was just kind of telling him politely to slow up a bit. I said, you need to slow down a bit, love. I said, some of us old people, we just don't have it. We just don't have the, how did I put it? We just can't keep pace with you. I said, we're this side of death. We're slowing down, mate. And he just looked at me and he just still didn't get the joke, what this side of death means. It's like people just don't understand me anymore. It's like I'm living in an alien world, literally alien. Lights are on, nobody's home kind of thing. So anyway, I thought, I wasn't angry with him at all. I was just mentioning it because it was almost comical that I was trying to hurry to get the groceries. Anyway, I head down, took us up, ass up, chucking things into the trolley and trying to sneak them into the bags so I didn't have so much packing to do, but I gave up on that because the kid was too fast for me. I think he was doing it deliberately. I think it became a bit of a game, quite frankly. And suddenly all these other groceries started being hurled at me, and it was a big thing of salmon. Oh, I don't eat salmon, I certainly wouldn't buy it. So the salmon arrives, and I throw it in my trolley, and I went, oh, wait a minute. I don't eat salmon. This isn't even mine. And then I look up, and there's a woman, the person behind me was with her husband, and she was like probably 10 years older than me, like not elderly, but she would have been, well, I'm 61 now, so she would have been either 70 or close to 70. And then she just looks at me and grins, and she went, oh. And I went, but I put the thing there so you knew where the end of the line was. Oh, I didn't see it, she says. And so she'd thrown all her groceries. It was about 3 or 4 things that ended up in my trolley because I'm just chucking it. And so there was like frozen peas and this big thing of salmon, which was expensive, by the way. $23 I would have paid for it. Got it home and would have had to give it to my neighbour because I really don't enjoy it. I really don't. Ooh. And well, my neighbour would have been rapt, wouldn't he? But, it's something that I didn't even buy. So I was like, wait a minute here. Like, I don't mind paying for things if I've picked it, put it in my trolley. But this is getting a bit much. So then there was a thing of mints, which I actually thought I had bought. But then I realised I didn't buy mints today. I bought other things, which was weird. Because I could have sworn that I picked a thing of mints up. But anyway, it turned out to be the ladies. She's like, oh, the mince is mine too. So anyway, I'm giving all these things back to her, and the young man's quickly voiding it off my grocery bill, which was good. I didn't pay for any of her stuff ultimately, but it was really kind of bizarre and a bit stressful. And I was like, and then I looked at her, I thought, I didn't yell at her or anything. Like, I wasn't angry, but I was just like a bit confused. Like, why would you throw all your groceries onto someone else's where she could plainly see that I was checking out and paying. And why would she do it? It's like she just kept throwing things, almost like a naughty kid trying to get my attention. And the husband was oblivious too, just looking at me all blanked out like. And I was like, and all I could think of, people Earth, was, oh dear God, this is the zombie apocalypse. They don't even know how to do their own shopping anymore. It's like, this is, and I always think I'm the disabled one, because I'm on the disability pension with massive generalised anxiety and trauma issues. And then I go out and people are nuttier than I ever was, even at my very worst, which is very confronting and frightening for me. And it kept running through my head over and over again. A reminder of a fortune teller telling me something like 20 years ago, maybe 25 years ago even. I can't even remember which one because I saw a lot of fortune tellers back in the day. It had been 30 years ago when my marriage was ending. I saw so many because I was just waiting for one to say, no, you're not getting a divorce and everything's fine and you just sail through it. I wasn't still in love with my husband either. It was just, I was terrified of the nuclear fallout that I knew would happen and how awful it would be. I already knew deep down, but I was kind of in denial. So anyway, I'd go and see these fortune tellers and they all said, your marriage is over, you have to leave, your marriage is over. 8 of them. It was like, one even said, don't spend any more money, don't come and see me again. You've seen me twice, Tanya, and twice I've told you this is your destiny, this is how it has to be. But I remember one of them saying to me, and she was an older woman, I remember that much. I think I saw her when I was living out at Logan Lee, so it wasn't 30 years ago. It was about 26 years ago, 27 years ago. Anyway, she was a very nice woman, and she said to me, all your life, she said, you've been treated like a freak or an outsider or a weirdo or, the other. She said, people have not understood who you are. And I just started to cry. The tears were running down my face, And she said, all your life, even as a young child, all you ever wanted was to be safe and to be loved and to find your people, find your tribe, people that vibe with you, that understand you and get along with you and accept you as you are. I went, yeah, that's right. How did you know that? She says, I can see it. It's plain as day in front of my eyes. I was astonished, never met the woman before, she was a true psychic. And she said, and you said you've suffered even as a child and a teenager and even as a young married woman. She said, you've suffered a lot. She said, because people just didn't get you and they would slander and vilify you and do the most awful things, say the most awful things, because they were not on your page with your spirituality and your intelligence and, your basically your spirit. And I went, that's true. That's exactly how it's been all my life, even as a young child. And she said, I want you to know this. She said, it's good and it's bad. I said, what do you mean? She said, and it kept flashing through my mind today, watching this woman throw all her groceries at me. It's not like I was going to buy them for her. It was bizarre behaviour. She said, there will come a time in the future, she said, all the psychics are seeing it. She said, when everything kind of goes black. I said, what do you mean by everything goes black? She said, there's some major global catastrophe. She said, we don't know if it's a nuclear holocaust or what it is, she said, but it'll be something that affects the entire world, and it will have really profound effects on people's psyches and souls and intellect and health and well-being. Now, she told me that 25 to 27 years ago. And I just said, oh my God, please don't tell me that. I can't handle any more abject fucking horror, because at that time period I was dealing with the monstrous Rosilio family threatening me and my little girls every day. So I said, I just can't take any more ghastly, evil horror. Like, my mind will fucking snap. She said, no, it won't. I said, what do you mean? She said, you're way, way saner than you give yourself credit for. You've always thought that you weren't good enough because of what your family did to you. She said, but that's not true, Tanya. And I just, the floods of tears, even she was a bit shocked how much I cried, And she said to me, I never forget it. She said, this darkness that's coming, she said, I don't know if it's 5 years or 10 years. She said, but it's inevitable. It's going to happen. There's nothing we can do to avoid it. She said, some of us are praying daily and trying to shift the timelines, but it seems to be like a kind of an inevitable thing in our timeline. I said, oh, well, things can be shifted if globally everyone put their mind together. She said, yes, but somehow they don't. Somehow, she said, they all go into lockstep with it. And she said, and that's what's really frightening, is we don't understand why they're doing that, what it is, because they didn't know. They couldn't put into words that it was going to be COVID, because they didn't have the imagery exactly. They just said a darkness that affects the entire planet. And and the other thing she said to me was, she said, all your life you have felt like you didn't fit in and you didn't belong and you weren't wanted. And she said, and you fought hard. She said, you've joined every possible, group or organisations, clubs, things. She said, did you go to university? I said, oh, briefly. She said, she said, I can see you joined various clubs even when you were at university. I said, yeah, well, I was a teenager and I was all, enthusiastic and I wanted to make friends. So I said I joined the French club and I joined the Friends of Israel club because I was wanting to convert to Judaism. And I said, and that was my undoing actually, getting involved in student politics. She said, yeah, I can see it. She said, you're very brave. She said you join things, and you go to you go to places, and you try to make friends and meet people and fit into their culture or their ideas. I don't do that politically, by the way, because I learnt that from student politics, how fucking verminous and vicious they are. But, I'm talking about social groups or going dancing, for example, or cultural type activities, like when I used to go to ecstatic dance. She said, and you try different things. And she said, and you always left feeling like you were not actually ever really wanted or liked. She said, it always turns rancid. She said, I don't know why that is. I said, neither do I, except that I've got a very bad habit of telling the truth. People can't handle the truth. And she burst out laughing, And she said to me, and this was the bit that was running through my mind constantly after I had that strange encounter with the woman in the checkout line. She said to me, this darkness that is coming to our planet, our world, she said, when it happens, she said, you will no longer be the outlier, the outsider, the weirdo, the freak. I said, really? I said, how is that possible? She said, because what will happen, she said, is people will go through something that for the first time in their lives, because she said, you've had a very difficult life, but most people have not even gone through a scrap of what you've gone through. And she said, so they can't connect or relate to your level of trauma. It was very insightful of this woman all those years ago. And so she said, what will happen, there will come a time, she said, when you will be the wise one and kind of a muse or kind of a guide. Well, I'm not sure if I'm a guide. Can't really say that I've guided anyone. But, she said, you'll be kind of looked at as someone who's gone through hell and high water and come out the other side relatively unscathed in spite of all the really awful things that have happened to you in your life. She said, you've just taken everything. She even did this. She said, you've taken everything on the chin and bounced right back. She said, like a, pinball in a 10-pin bowling alley when you knock all the pinballs down. She said, but you bounce right back up again. I said, yes, I'm a bit like that. I'm bloody determined that nobody drags me down permanently. She said, yes, she said, and there will come a time, she said, when people will no longer look at you like you're crazy anymore, because they will now be able to connect or relate to your level of trauma and what you've been through. And she said, and it won't even involve you sometimes saying a word. She said, you won't even have to sometimes speak about anything. She said, you'll just come across people and you'll instantly realise that on some level, energetically or spiritually speaking, got bits of alpaca up my schnoz. She said, they will connect with you. They will see you as you are, as a human being and as a spirit and as a soul, and they will understand. And she said, the trauma or the global trauma, the catastrophe that happens will forever alter people. She actually got that right. She bloody got that right. And she said it will be like an ontological shock, which it was at the time. I was a bit shocked by it all, quite frankly, what was going on. It was appalling, hoarding toilet paper and standing 6 feet apart and following steps, walking around the supermarket. I mean, all that was just utterly insane in my opinion. But anyway, she said to me, she said, and you, she said, you are so used to abuse dynamics and being the outcast and being the outlier and being utterly fearless because what have you got to lose? You already lost everything. She said that people will start to recognise that in you and like respond to it. Anyway, I always thought back in the day, I thought, what's this nonsense she's talking about? And of course, over time, I forgot about it, didn't I? Because nothing, she thought it was happening in 5 to 10 years, but it took actually, 25, 26 years for it to all unfold. And she said to me, so the crux of what she was saying to me was that although I'm a loner and I'm very much independent and I do my own thing, and, she said, you will be looked at differently by, I guess, random people like the lady today. She said because they will have finally come to terms with their own stuff because they'll be forced to by circumstances beyond their control, and they will recognise your spirit at last, and no longer will I be treated quite so much as the oddball out or someone who was not quite good enough or, othered. There's no other word for it than othered. So I'm telling you the story because what happened was, as I mentioned, I see the salmon go flying into my trolley because I threw it in there, and I go, that's not mine. I don't even eat salmon. And then I after that, I sort of glanced over at the lady and I went, I guess I probably should. It'd probably be good for me. And she nodded and she's like, kind of said, I don't know what made me do that. And I went, I put the thing there. I couldn't think of the name, the thing that separates between customers. And she went, oh, yes, I see it. But it was buttered next to a big packet of toilet paper she and her husband had bought. So she kind of didn't see it. But even so, why would you throw your groceries over onto someone else's pile of groceries? It still doesn't make sense to me. So anyway, like I said, I didn't get angry with her, but it was odd. It was out of left field. And the husband's looking at me like, like probably maybe a bit embarrassed because she was just so determined to throw food at me. Let's be happy about that. Maybe someone needs to throw food at me. People have heard it's going to be a tough fortnight because I paid for my change of name certificate. But anyway, all that aside, so I'm finishing up paying and paid for my groceries, and I go to wheel my trolley, to the edge of, they've got this bay in front of the store where people pack their groceries properly, because in Aldi you pack your own groceries. That's why it's cheaper, allegedly. I think that's the business model anyway. So I'm packing my groceries, and the lady that had been behind me with her husband goes past me and just shoots me this really beatific smile like this. Like we've known each other all our lives and we're the best of friends. And I thought, well, you know what? She's out of her mind, clearly. But, so I smiled back, nodded, kept doing my groceries, packing my groceries. So anyway, and then I remembered I don't have the little token for the trolleys. I've just been using, dollar coin, which works just as well. But it's kind of, I thought I need to get by one of those little tokens. I don't know what happened to mine, how I lost it. It's bizarre. So I go back to the young man who had not long before served me. Like I hadn't even left the store yet. I was packing. And I half dragged my trolley with me because I don't trust people because they steal. And I said to him, I want to buy one of those tokens. But he was talking to another man, like another worker. And he was oblivious that I was standing there wanting to pay for the little token. And I was having trouble finding it actually because they're always at the checkout at the end. But was all mixed in with other things. So I was getting a bit stressed, thinking, is this young man going to actually serve me properly? Anyway, I found the token and he's still chatting away. And then I stand there and he says, oh, you can take your groceries to the end of the queue and unload them. Is he out of his mind? You could see that I had them all packed and the zips all closed and everything. And he actually did not remember that he had just served me only minutes before, right? Throwing all the food at me in a hurry and then throwing the other lady's food at me as well, although that part wasn't his fault. It was just, I don't know what that was. So, being in the bloody Twilight Zone. And so anyway, this ended up being a long video and I wanted to read you a story. But anyway, so I stand there and I said, no, love. I said, I already paid for my groceries. I just want to buy this little token. And he goes, oh, yeah. And he still acted like he didn't remember or recognise me, that he'd served me only minutes, probably, 7 or 8 minutes took me to pack my gear. So anyway, I'm like thinking to myself, am I an invisible woman that they're throwing their groceries at me as though I didn't exist? Am I a ghost? Did I die? I have these existential angst because, this morning I woke up, I had stopped breathing 3 times an hour, which isn't too bad, but I had purple lips, which is not a good sign. So I thought, maybe I've died and this is just some dream, and I kind of had to pinch myself to make sure I was still with us, So anyway, but it was just so bizarre that he had no memory. And this is a very young man, probably mid to late 20s, of serving me, especially with all that craziness with having to give him things back and void them off the grocery bill. It was honestly a very bizarre experience. But I didn't get angry. I just kept running through my head the words from that fortune teller all those years ago saying, you will be, for once in your life, you won't be the crazy one, and everyone else about you will be acting crazy, or maybe crazy is a harsh word, will be acting, kind of in an altered state or acting unusually. And she said, and you'll be the one holding it all together. And so I was thinking I loaded my groceries into my car and I went and got fish and chips, which was funny because I'd said, I never eat salmon and don't eat fish. And then I felt guilty about it. I thought maybe I should have some fish and chips. Maybe it's a sign I need some fish today. Fattening. But anyway, it was just the most peculiar shopping experience at Aldi today. I'm not complaining. I'm not angry with anyone. I'm not going to war on their heads, as I call it. But it was just so bizarre. It was just so out of left field. And driving home, all I could think was that woman that read my fortune decades ago was right. It's here now. It's happening. This is what's happening. I go out into the world and there's some kind of strange, bizarre behaviour. Either they act like I'm not there and I'm invisible, which is really quite confronting and quite rude, actually, to be honest, or they're over the top gushing over me as if I'm a celebrity, which is lovely. Who doesn't want to be a celebrity? But also confronting when you know that you're not a celebrity and you haven't done anything special. Or they just act, kind of hostile, and you just have to be very calm and polite and back your way to the wall, So there's been a lot of that going on in the last 6 years, since 2020, and it's escalating. It's escalating beyond belief. And so I just thought, well, the part that really blows my mind is that I was told that this would be happening, that I would have to find a way to navigate my way through it. And it's like so confronting. And then on top of it, all this talk about alien invasion, and it's on all the YouTube channels today as well. I watched them all. I watched two or three of them. So I thought, you know, is it really a case that people are being body snatched, that they don't even realise that I was there 5 minutes before? It's like their mind's just been evacuated into a kind of disassociation, actually, is the technical psychiatric term for it. And I am the queen of disassociation. So it freaks me out when everyone else is doing it, because I have a right to disassociate, because that's my mental health diagnosis of how I've coped with life, by disassociating and detaching, and sometimes being really fucking avoidant if that was the only way to keep myself safe. And what did my psych said years ago, that I had an anxious avoidance style in relationships. But, you know, that's because the people that I was falling in love with or involved with were Machiavellian fucking narcissists and psychopaths. So I had to be anxiously avoidant to sort of navigate all the emotions, and then quietly, gently just detach and let it all go. Just slough it all the fuck off, literally. Anyway, 46 minutes in now. Just wanted to tell you about that experience today, because it was odd, and I was intending to go straight into my story, but I'll come back with that story because they usually go on for about 2 hours and it's going to be too long a video. So I'll call this, what should I call this video for you? I'll think of something. Anyway, take good care, people of Earth. Have a wonderful Friday evening, night, and if you're Jewish, have a wonderful Shabbat. And I'll be back. I'll be back to continue reading Isaac Asimov's I, Robot. Bye for now.